Hey, everybody. You are about to hear a brief retelling of the movie Superlopez. Before we get started, hit the like button and subscribe. It may only be a click for you, but it has a significant impact on the channel. A woman gives birth on a distant planet called Chiton, while her husband, Jan, delivers the baby to her. The couple is moved by the baby's cry, but then they hear the sound of a spaceship coming. Thinking about what to do next, his wife recommends hiding the baby, but Jan insists that they will locate him. She asks what else they can do, and Jan responds there's just one thing left: glance at the space pod at the same time. As the spaceship lands on top of their tower, Jan works on inputting the coordinates on the pod, selecting the United States because he believes it is the most sophisticated zone on the world. As the pod floats away, the two look at it wistfully before the door breaks open and soldiers march in. They step aside to make way for a man perched in a floating egg, the tyrant Scorba, who wishes them a good morning. While the pod flies away, the troops apprehend the couple, and Scorba interrogates them, asking Jan where he sent the infant. Jan refuses to cooperate, and Scorba threatens to press the button that will end everything. Agata, the protagonist's daughter, appears and offers assistance. Agata demonstrates her usefulness by reading Jan's mind and learns that he sent the pod to Earth, a blue planet. Agata boards the pod to prove her worth. Scorba reminds her that he wants the baby to survive. She resolves to chase him as he flees into space and eventually catches up to the baby's pod. Just as the baby's pod is ready to reach Earth, it collides with a satellite, altering its trajectory. Agata arrives in the US, while the baby's pod travels to Spain. On Earth, a couple named Juan and Maria are heading back when the baby's pod nearly collides with their pickup. They step out of their truck to inspect it, and when the pod opens, they discover the infant. Maria puts the baby in her arms and shows him off to Juan, who gradually warms up to him after first disliking him due to his mustache. But as soon as the baby takes Juan's index finger, he bends it backward, causing Juan to cry out loud. They take him home, and Juan shaves the baby's mustache, but it quickly grows back. They name him Juan, but affectionately refer to him as Juanito, and raise him as their son. As Juanito grows older, they realize he possesses super strength, super sight, and super speed, which he occasionally employs. However, the other kids think he's strange. Juanito once played goalkeeper in a soccer match. Because he is unsure of who to kick the ball to and is under pressure, he decides to use his super speed to score himself. When he eventually scores a goal, none of his teammates are pleased. Following that, his father Juan chastises him for using his skills in public. On his birthday, Juanito waits outside for his buddies, but none of them arrive. Juan tries to console him, and Maria offers them the cake, just as Juanito informs them that they didn't want to come because he's weird. Juan informs Juanito that tall poppies are cut down, and if he stands out, people would grind him in Spain. Maria takes the cake closer to Juanito and instructs him to make a wish. He shuts his eyes and desires to be normal, then blows the cake, splattering the majority of it on his parents' faces. Fast forward 20 years, and he is now a full-grown man named Juan. Juan is currently sleeping on his couch and is woken up by his phone ringing. He answers it and speaks with his friend and boss, Jamie, who figures he's late again. Juan lies, but Jamie informs him that he just checked his apartment and Juan was not there. Juan's excuse this time is that he was in the restroom, so Jamie orders him to come to his office immediately. Juan dresses fast and arrives before Jamie. When Jamie approaches him, Juan appears to have been working for quite some time. Juan noticed Jamie's perfume and asks when he started using it. Jamie informs him that this is why he wanted to talk to Juan in the first place, and he admits to his friend that the girl he hired starts today. Juan frowns at Jamie, telling him he can't use the job as a dating pool, but Jamie insists it's very much the same. Jamie requests assistance in planning a party for her, but Juan responds that they have never held a welcome party before. Juan goes away, having had enough of his friend's request, and tells Jamie that he'll go get breakfast. As Juan struggles to get a chocolate bar trapped in the vending machine, he sees a presence outside and utilizes super sight. Juan recognizes the new female as Luisa, a buddy from college. He buzzes her in and she assumes he's the receptionist. A little later, they celebrate Luisa's welcome party with only Juan, Jamie, and two other janitors who have finished their workday. Luisa quickly shouts at them to be silent before standing up and striking one of them on the buttocks with her purse. The boy turns to Juan, asking if he's going to punch back, but Juan remains firm, attempting to de-escalate the situation. The youngster threatens that he can simply use a finger to knock Juan down, which Juan claims is impossible until it occurs. It turned out that one of the kids knelt behind Juan's knees, causing him to lose balance. In the next scene, Juan sits at the station, remembering what his father told him on his birthday. He is jolted back to reality when he hears the announcement for the final train, but a second later, the train rushes past him because the brakes have failed. Juan sees a placard that says, "It's time, take the step," and interprets it as a signal to use his powers. He hurries to the next station and attempts to stop the train, but fails. He then races back to the station, where Juan uses the fire hose and his own muscle to stop the train. He pulls it off before leaving the station, trying hard to conceal himself. In America, Scorba's daughter, Agata, founded Chit Technologies and is a well-known player in the sector. She is currently demonstrating her company's latest cleaning product, Chitobot. Her presentation is interrupted when one of her men informs her that they have discovered him. Agata leaves the stage to confirm the location of Jan's son. Unfortunately, she cannot see his face on the CCTV footage, but this is sufficient evidence for her to go visit him. The next day, word traveled rapidly that a man had stopped the train, and everyone in the office was watching the news report. Luisa finds the Spanish hero silly and believes it is a PR trick, whilst Juan defends the hero. As Agata's visit to their country becomes a huge subject, their attention shifts back to television. Agata expresses her desire to meet the man who stopped the train, believing they have the potential to achieve tremendous success. Meanwhile, in Chit Technologies' offices in Barcelona, Agata approaches Scorba and informs him that it's time to return home as she discovered Jan's son. Scorba continues to chastise her daughter before threatening her that if she does not have him when he arrives, he would destroy Earth alongside her. On the other hand, Juan is on the bus, running late for his dinner with Luisa, and informs her that he is only a few minutes away. Juan thinks it's simply the radio when he hears a unique ringing from Agata. There are two things she needs to tell him. First, Juan should not talk to her since she can't hear him, and second, Juan should come see her and she would explain everything. Juan exits the bus and walks straight to Agata's office, where she sits waiting for him. He recognizes her as the vacuum lady, while Agata attempts to flatter him. She goes on about how they are the same and came from the same planet, but Juan refuses to believe it. Juan resolves to go away, but Agata reads his mind and finds Luisa waiting for him. Agata attempted to use force by having one of her men hold him back, but Juan easily defeated him. She tries to arrest him with more men, but Juan escapes again, so she decides to exploit his weakness by informing her men that she wants Luisa's DNA. Back at the workplace, Jamie slips a letter on Luisa's table, just as the Chit vacuum cleaner begins to process the lip mark on her cup. The noises it makes grab Jamie's attention, and he walks over to view the data analysis the vacuum is sending. The vacuum immediately attacks him, and luckily for him, the other two janitors are there to assist him in destroying the machine, just as Jamie contacts Luisa to warn her. Returning to Juan, he is hunched in front of Luisa's door when he hears her call from behind. Juan rushes over to Luisa, but she tells him off for taking too long at the restaurant. The two fight, with Luisa telling Juan that he should have just said he wasn't interested in her in the first place, and Juan telling her that something unusual happened to him on the way there. Luisa begins insulting him because she is upset by his decision to move away from her. Jamie sees them together and feels betrayed. Jamie is followed by a Chit Technologies van, which includes Agata. She discovers that he too likes Luisa and offers to help him obtain her if he comes with her. Juan travels home to his parents' house to learn more about his birth. They both struggle to hide the truth, but eventually decide to tell him after Juan informs them that a girl has appeared and claims to want to take him to another galaxy. His parents show him the space capsule that transported him to Earth, and when Juan touches it, a hologram of his biological father, Jan, appears. Jan reveals who he is and what happened on their planet. Juan is still unsure, but his father encourages him to accept who he is. Meanwhile, his mother searches through the pod and discovers a piece of cloth with a S printed on it. The next thing we know, Juan is already wearing the suit his mother created out of cloth, and when their conversation turns to his flying talent, they decide to put it to the test by having Juan practice on top of a building. He makes several signals before his parents persuade him to jump, only to fall flat on his face. Juan walks away, upset with the outcome, before colliding with a pair of children. The youngsters make fun of him, and as Juan begins levitating, they flee in terror. He repeats this a few times, landing in different locations till he returns home. A while later, Luisa knocks on their door. When Juan notices her, she instantly approaches him for a hug. She tells him she already knows everything, so they go to his room to discuss it. Luisa wants to praise Agata, but Juan believes they should focus on more pressing problems, such as yesterday night's events. Agata delegated control of the phony Luisa to Jamie, unaware of the situation. Jamie couldn't help but be upset with him, but when Juan says that he needs to talk to Jamie first about everything because he is his buddy, Jamie is moved. Agata tries to control the situation by hitting Juan and begins fighting him. Juan does his hardest to fend her off, but the phony Luisa has the upper hand. His mother decides to join in, striking her with her shoes, which irritates Juan, who smacks fake Luisa's skull off. Meanwhile, Jamie withdraws from Agata's scheme, alerting Juan that Agata intends to kidnap Luisa. When Agata discovers this, she intends to use Jamie and the genuine Luisa as bait. Back home, Juan's mother begs him to save Luisa, so he takes off to see her. They meet near the Arco de Triunfo, and Juan questions her to see if she's the real deal. When he verifies her, Luisa questions what's going on with him. Juan finally tells her everything. She refuses to believe him until he shows her proof, and just as he is ready to do so, a couple of men in cosplay interfere and start a fight with him. During the story, Luisa is abducted by Agata's men and demands that he join Agata and her father to rule the world in order to preserve her life. Juan quickly travels to Agata's headquarters to see Luisa and Jamie tied up. Luisa continues to doubt his abilities, while Jamie encourages him to use them and prove them to her. Juan decides to utilize supersight to tell Luisa what kind of clothing she is wearing. As Juan was going to free her, Agata used the ringing frequency, harming him as he groveled on the floor. Jamie and Luisa encourage him to struggle through the suffering. When it doesn't work, Jamie insults him, which Luisa finds more effective. When Scorba arrives on Earth, they begin to taunt him. He dismisses Agata and expresses excitement to see Jan's son. Agata leads her father and his guys to Juan's location. Luisa and Jamie continue to abuse Juan until he burns a hole through the wall, allowing them to escape. Scorba constantly compares Agata to her relatives, highlighting her low performance. Agata's father insults her after learning that Juan and the two escaped. When Scorba questions her mettle in doing things, she answers by cutting off his oxygen. In his final moments, Agata reads his thoughts and receives his father's approbation. She now leads his troops and takes his place. Meanwhile, Juan brings Luisa and Jamie home, where he decides to stop being a superhero and burns his suit. Scorba's spaceship appears later, and Agata lowers. Juan declines to return with her, but Agata threatens to destroy the Earth, beginning with this village, as she presses the button. The egg immediately transforms into a large robot, resulting in a conflict. Juan's father becomes trapped in Agata's contraption after intervening. The three kids from before watch from a distance as Juan is thrashed by Agata. He's thrown away and ends himself in the middle of a soccer match, where he snatches the net. At the farm, Agata pursues his mother. Juan flies back in time, but drops the net incorrectly, allowing Agata to capture her as well. Juan is smashed to the ground and repeatedly stomped by Agata's robot. Just as she is about to end Juan with her razor disc, Jamie appears to distract her. As Agata prepares to slash Juan, Luisa drives up and insults him. Jamie and his parents also begin doing likewise, causing Juan to recover awareness. Juan cuts off Agata's robot arm before she can suck Luisa. He begins pounding the robot, as Luisa instructs Juan to repeat what the boys did to him on their first date. Juan uses his icy breath to shove Agata into the pool after Luisa parked the truck nearby. Jamie and the others swim up while Juan watches over them. Juan and Luisa reconnect again, and when his mother asks what he intends to do about his home planet, Juan says he already has a plan. Scorba's ship returns to Chiton with Agata, but instead of Juan, one of the costume guys picked a battle with him. Cut to the next scene, where Luisa turns off the alarm while Juan gets up. He dons the outfit and flies over the city, as the radio plays in the background about the inhabitants' conflicting feelings for this hero. But Juan is delighted, perched atop a statue. A while later, Luisa waits in a restaurant for Juan, who is once again late. The two argue over his desire to prioritize their relationship over his superhero pursuits. When they eventually agree, Luisa instructs him to pay the bill, but the waiter informs them that a man from the bar has already done it. When they both turn to face him, the hooded figure calls him Superlopez and tells him what he owes him before sucking a pacifier and departing.